Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel once again, and for today's video I've got a team for the Great League once again, which is going to be the second team which I am going to use in season 15, and this is going to be the double ice water backline with a newly buffed and better Dewgong and Cloyster. So I'm using Shadow Cloyster of my own, having access to ice, water and ground moves for electric, grass and fighting coverage, which I believe is better than previous seasons over here because of the access to drill run for Dewgong and liquidation as well, along with Cloyster being having access to liquidation over here. So since it's going to be a double ice and water backline, so it is going to be weak to fighting and electric, so that is the reason I am using it as a ABB team style with Medicham in the lead to counter all those electric and fighting types over here. That is the thing, that is the strategy that I had while building this team up and playing up with this. So with ABB team strategy, a Dewgong is the safe swap for me, having coverage, a super coverage actually, settling up a closing ground, a good closing ground for Cloyster and Medicham, which might help me out to realign my Pokemon in cases of a bad lead with Medicham over here. That's all for the introduction, and without further more delay, let's quickly jump into the battles and check out how this team performed. So now moving into the first battle over here with Golisopod over here, which is actually a very tough lead for me, because Golisopod can actually code break this whole team over here because it have got access to liquidation, X-Scissor and Shadow Claw over here for the Medicham as well. So which I'll be going for the first resisted psychic over here that draws out the force shield from my opponent's end, which I believe is really nice because now I can set up and switch into my Dewgong to take up whatever they throws in. They goes for X-Scissor over here, which I believe is not that threatening of a much, because X-Scissor is neutral and it's not kind of a good move over here. To which now I will be going for the neutral like resisted ice event over here to debuff my opponent's Golisopod over here, and they swaps out into their own Sand Slash over here, which is really great because now Dewgong, once this Sand Slash is down, will be setting out the ground for my Cloyster sweep in the end game, to which now they will not able to farm me down until unless I go for they go for their next ice punch that does take me out, and now I can easily come back with my own Medicham and farm down the Sand Slash over here. To which now I'm going to switch out into my Shadow Cloyster over here very soon, as soon as they come back with their final Pokemon, which turns out to be a Drifloon over here. So I'll be shielding up the first move, whether be it a Mythical Fire or Icy Wind or Shadow Ball, anything. So I'll be shielding up the first one because the Icy Wind debuffs will act on and it will be lowering the opponent's attack as well. And since I draw out the final shield from my opponent's end, which is really nice because now I can let this next move go, but rather I'll shield up because the Mythical Fire is the move that will hit for so much damage right here, because the liquidation is resisted and the X-Scissor from the Golisopod is also resisted, to which now I will be going for the next liquidation over here that almost knocks out the Golisopod, but nevertheless one X-Scissor does not take me out and I get the win as I sneak in one ice shard through. So it was a tough game, and yeah, really well played from my opponent's end. Moving to the next matchup, I pick up a yet again tough lead against Azumarill over here. So Azumarill is kind of rough for this whole team over here because it have got access to play rough that hits for neutral damage throughout. Neutral damage for my backline and super effective for my Medicham here as well. But nevertheless, since I landed the first psychic over here, this is somehow doable right now because one play rough to a Dewgong does not hit too hard, but it does the 40% of my health, but I can easily go for one drill run to put this Azumarill really low. And if they lets it go, which they does, I will be going for a very hefty hard farm down with Ice Shard onto this Azumarill over here, which is really nice because now I have a ton of energy and I will be watching out for what they have in their bag. So they comes out with their Beedrill over here, and this Beedrill will not appreciate this Ice Events coming in along with the debuff it put through, to which now again I will be now I'll be shielding this up because this will be a might be Executor or a drill run, to which now since it's shielded up, I will be going for the next ice event. And since their attack is now 2 times slower, they won't be able to farm me down with poison jabs until and unless they threw over here, to which now they swaps out into their final Pokemon, which turns out to be Unova Stunfisk over here that is running Mud Shot, and they have to throw because they cannot farm down a Dewgong with Mud Shot over here. So Mud Bomb does take me out, and now I can easily come back with my Medicham over here, and I'll be forcing them to throw their energy because my win condition over here is going to be my Cloyster over here. And now I come back with my Cloyster doing so much damage with this Ice Shard, and now they concede the match because yeah, they see the writing on the wall and they concede it. They don't have any chance since I was 1 shield up with my Cloyster as well. So GG's. Moving on to the next matchup, I pick up a lead against Medicham once again. Like, I mirror Medicham lead over here. So I lose CMP over here with the opposing Psychic, which I let it go, and now I'll be going for my own Psychic over here. So if they want to shield, be it, I will be shaving up my shield over here for my Cloyster for the end game. So as I was battling out with this team, actually Dewgong is definitely better with a good bulk, and that is what I feel Cloyster is missing a bit, because Cloyster hits really hard, as you guys will be seeing in the upcoming battles as well. It hits very hard, but what it does lack is the bulk component in it. So bulk stat does not have it much. That is the reason it is slightly below below standard actually for this Great League meta over here. But nevertheless, it might be good in some kind of restricted or restricted metas over in the special cups coming forward. Moving forward with the battle, I'll be going for the next drill run as they comes back with their own Dewgong, and that is the reason I like Dewgong so much, because they cannot farm a Dewgong with their own Dewgong, because how bulky Dewgong is, and it is a double resisted Ice Shards coming in. So they will be going for their next drill run to take me out, because Ice Event will not take me out from this kind of range as well, and this gives my Medicham a farm down opportunity as well. So now I will be farming their Medicham down as well, and I'm quite sure that this is not going to be a Psychic, which is going to be just a power up punch which does not do too much, and I'll let this next charge move go through as well, because if I can farm this Medicham down, I would be having so much energy for whatever they have in the backline to get the shield, or maybe to get a bit of extra damage over here. The final Pokemon is going to be a Learn Sandslash of their own, which is not really great because it does have access to Drill Run over here. That's hits for neutral damage in this scenario to a Cloyster, and since Cloyster is missing out that bulk stat, I have to shield up the first move. And nevertheless, I will be going for the first Ice Event onto this Sandslash that draws out the final shield over here, which is huge. And now their Drill Run won't be doing so much, like enough damage to take me out, barely enough. And now I can easily go for one Liquidation over here for neutral damage that will be taking out the Sandslash over here, giving me the win for the third battle in this scenario. So GG's to my opponent, really well played. Moving into the fourth battle over here, I pick up a lead of a Medicham yet again, and a shiny Medicham over here as well, so it's a good flex. I'll be letting this first move go through, which I believe I did every time I met into a Medicham matchup. So now I'll be going for the first Psychic, which they let it go as well, and now it's going to be a CMP tie, or maybe I'll try to catch a move onto a Dewgong, which I do perfectly. And since it's going to be a psychic, I'll let it go and I'll be going for a hard farm down. But nevertheless, they realize that and they switches out into their own and Sand Slash over here, which is nice because they have to go for 2 drill runs to take me out. If not, one Ice Punch will actually do it from this kind of help. But this is the speciality from having access to drill run, that it hits for super effective damage to this Sand Slash as well. And now I am able to reach to the next move as well, which is going to be Icy Wind. I get the shield and I get the attack drop as well, which is huge because now all I have to do is come back with, I believe, Medicham to get farm down over here, and I have to shield up once because though their attack is dropped, but they cannot farm me down over here, and they switch out into their own Medicham once again, which I believe makes me dump my energy onto this Medicham, and now I have to switch out into my own Cloyster over here. So I have to shield up this next move, which ends up being a drill run, and I have to farm this whole Sand Slash down with triple reset Ice Shard over here, but I could not do so, so they'll be going for the next drill run that hits for so much damage. And now I'm in a very troublesome situation right away because they have a shield, and the final Pokemon that they have access to is going to be Dewgong of their own. So this is actually a different kind of team that my opponent is using, which I believe is good because Medicham with Dewgong and Sand Slash does give a good bulk and kind of same coverage as well, which is nice. And now they will be going for the next drill run or Ice Event, anything, or liquidation that takes my Cloyster out of the game, and they have enough energy to go for one liquidation of their own to take out Medicham, and I concede the match over here. So GG's to opponent, really well played. Moving into the next matchup, I pick up a lead against Dragonair. So I'll not stay up in this matchup because I have 2 better response to Dragonair over here. So that is the reason I'll be switching out into my Dewgong, and I'll be going for the drill run as they swaps back into their own Azumarill. So Azumarill is actually again a tricky because it have got access to play rough that hits for neutral damage for my backline and super effective to Medicham over here. But since Dewgong is so bulky, it will not actually force me to shield over here. Rather, I can easily go for I think 2 to 3 drill runs because I was ahead on energy. And now if they want to get the knockout, they have to go for a play rough, which I let it go, and it ends up being a play rough, which I am fine with because now I can easily come back with, I believe, my Medicham and go for a kind of really hard farm down over here. If I'm getting the farm down with a cost of 1 shield, I will be doing so. So I'll be shielding up the next play rough, and now I can get the counter down before they could reach to the next play rough as well, which gives me so much chance to dump this energy out or maybe get shields down for my opponent as well. So since they comes back with their Dragonair, I will be going for back-to-back Ice Punch over here, getting the first shield and getting the final shield as well. And now I'll be switching out into my own Cloyster over here. So Cloyster will take one move which ends up being a body slam that does so much damage, and now I will be going for a hard farm, and the final Pokemon that they have access to is going to be a Stunfisk. And let's see how much damage this liquidation does to a Stunfisk over here. It almost does 70%. So that's how hard Cloyster hits to a bulky Stunfisk over here, which is nice because now I can let this next Rock Slide go through, take down my Cloyster over here, and I can easily come back with my Medicham, get the farm down, have enough energy for Ice Punch for the incoming Dragonair over here that knocks out it and gets the win for the final battle here as well. And now for some final thoughts and conclusions on Cloyster over here. Though it is buffed up with liquidation because earlier it was only having access to Hydro Pump and Blizzard, so on the kind of moveset that it was having earlier, it is definitely buffed up, but it is still lagging out the bulk component over here. So though the buff from liquidation is good, but it is not enough to overcome that missing bulk that is required to perform really well in Great League. So that is what I think it is missing, but definitely it can perform really well with this moveset in some kind of restricted metas as well. So that will be all for this video, and thanks for hanging out with me. So I'll be back again with new videos and teams and with the buffed up Pokemons that have been introduced in season 15. So that will be all for this one, and see you again in the next one. Till then, peace.